Hey, beautiful Taurus souls. I hope you are ready for this reading because what I just pulled from the cards today is seriously intense, and honestly, it took me a moment to process everything that came through. I want to talk to you about something that might feel a bit heavy at first, but trust me, there is so much wisdom and growth hidden in what we are about to explore together. This reading is about transforming heartbreak into wisdom. And I know that might sound like something you have heard before, but the way the cards are showing this journey is actually really profound. Before we dive in, I just want to say that wherever you are right now in your journey, whether you are healing from something painful or you are just curious about what the universe wants you to know, you are exactly where you need to be. The cards never lie, and they have shown up today with some really clear messages for you, Taurus. So grab your favorite drink, get comfortable, and let me walk you through what came up. The first card I pulled is the Eight of Swords. And when I saw this card appear, I actually paused for a second, because this is such a powerful card about feeling trapped. You know that feeling when you are stuck in your own head, replaying scenarios over and over, wondering what you could have done differently? That is exactly what this card represents. For many of you Taurus folks, there has been a situation, probably related to a relationship or someone you deeply cared about, where you felt completely powerless. Maybe it was a breakup that blindsided you, or perhaps it was discovering something about someone that completely shattered your view of them. What I find really interesting about the Eight of Swords is that the figure in the card is usually blindfolded and surrounded by swords. But here's the thing. The bindings are actually loose. This means that the imprisonment is largely self-created through limiting beliefs and fear. You have been telling yourself a story about what happened, about what it means about you, about your worth, about your ability to trust again. And that story has become like a cage. The energy here is showing me that you have been holding on to pain not because you want to, but because somewhere deep down, you are afraid that letting go means the experience did not matter, or that you are somehow betraying yourself by moving forward. I want you to really sit with this for a moment. Think about the narratives you have been carrying. Are you telling yourself that you should have seen the red flags? Are you beating yourself up for trusting someone who hurt you? Are you convinced that this pain is proof that you are somehow not enough? The Eight of Swords is here to tell you that these thoughts, as real as they feel, are the actual prison, not what happened to you. The circumstances, as painful as they were, have already passed, but you have been keeping yourself locked in that moment through your thoughts and beliefs. The wisdom that wants to come through here is about recognizing that you actually hold the key to your own freedom. Nobody else can release you from this mental and emotional cage. Not an apology from someone who hurt you, not validation from others, not even time itself. You have to make the conscious choice to challenge these limiting beliefs. And I know that is easier said than done. Especially for Taurus, who tends to hold on tightly to things, to feelings, to memories. Your fixed earth sign nature means you have incredible staying power, but sometimes that same quality keeps you anchored to pain longer than necessary. The transformation that is available to you right now involves recognizing that your past pain does not define your future possibilities. Just because you were hurt does not mean you are broken. Just because someone failed to see your value does not mean you are not valuable. The Eight of Swords is inviting you to remove the blindfold you have placed on yourself and see the situation from a new perspective. What if this experience, as difficult as it was, actually taught you something crucial about your boundaries, your needs, your standards? What if the heartbreak was actually redirecting you away from something that was never meant for you in the first place? Moving to the second card, I pulled the Six of Cups. And this is where things get really interesting because this card has a very different energy. The Six of Cups is all about nostalgia, childhood innocence, and emotional memories. When this card appears in a reading about transforming heartbreak into wisdom, it is usually pointing to something really specific. There is a pattern here that goes way back, probably to your childhood or early relationships, that has been influencing how you experience love and loss. For a lot of you, what I am seeing is that the recent heartbreak has actually triggered much older wounds. Maybe you experienced abandonment as a child, or you watched your parents go through a painful separation, or perhaps you learned early on that love comes with conditions, and you have to earn it by being a certain way. The Six of Cups is showing me that your current pain is connected to these earlier experiences in ways you might not have fully realized. Here's where the wisdom comes in. Often when we go through a breakup or betrayal, we focus all our energy on that specific situation and that specific person. We analyze what they did, what we did, what went wrong, but the Six of Cups is asking you to look deeper. What does this situation remind you of? When have you felt this way before? What familiar ache is this touching? Because here is the truth. We tend to recreate our earliest relationship patterns over and over until we become conscious of them and actively choose something different. For Taurus specifically, I am getting that many of you learned very young that love means sacrifice. Perhaps you saw the adults in your life give up their own needs and happiness for others, and you internalize that as what love looks like. Or maybe you learned that being good, being stable, being the rock for everyone else is how you earn love and approval. So you entered relationships already primed to overgive, to be endlessly patient, to tolerate things that actually hurt you because you thought that is what loyalty and love demanded. The Six of Cups is inviting you to heal not just the recent heartbreak, but the original wound underneath it. This is where real transformation happens. When you can look at that younger version of yourself, that child who maybe did not feel fully seen or valued or safe, and offer them the compassion and understanding they needed back then. When you can recognize that the patterns you have been living out are not actually your patterns but patterns you absorbed and inherited. There is also another layer to the Six of Cups that I want to touch on. This card can sometimes indicate that someone from your past might reappear or that you have been thinking a lot about past relationships and wondering what if. The wisdom here is to be very careful about romanticizing the past. When we are in pain in the present, it is tempting to look back at previous relationships through rose-colored glasses, forgetting why they ended in the first place. The Six of Cups can represent beautiful memories, but it can also represent an unwillingness to fully be in the present moment. Make sure you are not using nostalgia as another form of avoidance, another way to keep your heart closed to what is actually available to you now. The transformation available through the Six of Cups is about reclaiming the parts of yourself that you abandoned in order to fit into relationships that were not right for you. Think about who you were before you learned to dim your light, before you learned to be smaller or quieter or more convenient. That authentic self is still in there, and the heartbreak you experienced is actually clearing away the false versions so the real you can emerge. The third card that came through is the Hierophant, and I have to say, this one surprised me a little bit because the Hierophant is typically about tradition, structure, spiritual teaching, and established systems. But in the context of transforming heartbreak into wisdom, this card has a really important message for you, Taurus. The Hierophant represents the need to find meaning in your suffering. Now, I am not saying that the pain you experienced was somehow deserved or that everything happens for a reason in some cosmic plan. What I am saying is that one of the most powerful tools we have as humans is our ability to create meaning from our experiences. The Hierophant is showing me that you are being called to become the teacher of your own story. Instead of being the victim of circumstances, you get to be the one who extracts the lessons and the wisdom. For many of you, I am seeing that you have been seeking answers outside of yourself. Maybe you have been asking friends to analyze what went wrong, or reading articles about toxic relationships, or watching videos trying to understand narcissistic behavior patterns. And while external information can be helpful, the Hierophant is pointing you back to your own inner knowing. You already know the truth of what happened. You already know what you need to learn from this. The challenge is trusting that inner wisdom and having the courage to speak it out loud, even if it goes against what others might think or say. The Hierophant also represents spiritual beliefs and value systems. This heartbreak has probably shaken some of your core beliefs about love, trust, and relationships. Maybe you always believed that if you loved someone enough and were loyal enough, things would work out. Or maybe you believed that you could fix or heal someone through your love. The wisdom that is emerging now is a more mature, more grounded understanding of how relationships actually work. You are learning that love alone is not enough, that you cannot save someone who is not willing to save themselves, that your worthiness is not determined by whether someone chooses you. There is also a teaching here about self-respect and personal values. The Hierophant is very much about knowing what you stand for, what your non-negotiables are. Through the pain of this heartbreak, you are developing a much clearer sense of your boundaries and your standards. You are learning what you will and will not accept in relationships moving forward. This might feel restrictive or harsh right now, especially if you are someone who prides themselves on being understanding and giving people chances. But the Hierophant is telling you that having clear standards is not about being judgmental. It is about honoring yourself. I want to talk about something else that the Hierophant brings up, which is the concept of ceremony and ritual. One of the ways you can actively participate in your healing and transformation is by creating intentional rituals around releasing the past. This does not have to be anything elaborate. It could be as simple as writing a letter to the person who hurt you, saying everything you need to say, and then safely burning it as a symbol of letting go. Or it could be creating a small ceremony where you acknowledge the end of the old chapter and consciously step into the new one. Taurus is an earth sign that responds really well to tangible physical actions, so doing something concrete to mark this transformation can be incredibly powerful for you. The wisdom of the Hierophant is also about finding or becoming a guide for others. As you move through this healing process, you are going to find that you have so much to offer people who are going through similar experiences. Your pain is being transformed into a gift that you can share. Not in a way that keeps you stuck in the story, but in a way that allows you to help others see possibilities they could not see on their own. You might find yourself drawn to learning more about psychology, spirituality, or healing modalities. Trust that pull. It is part of your transformation. Now we move to the fourth card, which is the Seven of Wands, and the energy shifts here into something much more active and defensive. The Seven of Wands is about standing your ground, defending your position, and fighting for what you believe in. In this reading about transforming heartbreak, this card is showing me that you are entering a phase where you need to actively protect your healing process. What do I mean by that? Well, as you start to heal and grow from this experience, you are probably going to encounter resistance, maybe from the person who hurt you, who might try to come back or minimize what happened. Maybe from well-meaning friends or family who think you should be over it by now or who do not understand why you are making certain choices. Maybe even from parts of yourself that are scared of change and want to go back to what is familiar, even if what is familiar was painful. The Seven of Wands is telling you that you are going to have to fight for your peace. You are going to have to defend your boundaries, sometimes repeatedly. You are going to have to stand firm in your truth, even when others challenge it or try to make you doubt yourself. This is not about being aggressive or combative, but it is about having the courage to say no, this is my path, this is what I need, and I am not backing down. For Taurus, this can be particularly challenging because you value harmony and stability. You do not like conflict. You would rather keep the peace and accommodate others. But the Seven of Wands is showing me that this transformation requires you to prioritize your own well-being over keeping everyone else comfortable. It requires you to be willing to disappoint people, to be misunderstood, to be called selfish or cold, because you know that protecting your healing is the most important thing right now. I am also seeing with the Seven of Wands that some of you might be dealing with multiple challenges at once. It is not just the heartbreak, but maybe there are also work issues, family drama, financial stress. Everything seems to be hitting at the same time. The wisdom here is that you have more strength than you realize. The fact that you are still standing, still showing up, still trying to make sense of things and grow from them, that takes incredible resilience. The Seven of Wands is acknowledging that yes, things are hard, but you are handling it. You are capable of defending yourself and your peace even when you are tired and worn down. There is another aspect of the Seven of Wands that relates to competition and comparison. In the aftermath of heartbreak, it is really common to start comparing yourself to other people. Maybe to whoever your ex is with now, or to friends who seem to have perfect relationships, or to some idealized version of who you think you should be. The Seven of Wands is asking you to stop fighting that battle. You are not in competition with anyone else. Your journey is uniquely yours, and trying to measure yourself against others is just another form of self-imprisonment, another way of staying stuck. The transformation available through the Seven of Wands is about discovering your inner warrior. Not the part of you that attacks or defends out of fear, but the part that stands calmly in its truth and refuses to be moved. This is where you develop unshakable self-trust, where you learn that you can count on yourself to protect yourself, to honor yourself, to show up for yourself. This is the wisdom that turns heartbreak into power, because when you know that you have your own back no matter what, external circumstances lose their ability to devastate you in the same way. The fifth card is Death. And I can already imagine some of you feeling a little nervous seeing this card, but please do not be afraid. The Death card is actually one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck when it comes to transformation and rebirth. This is not about physical death. It is about the death of the old self, old patterns, old ways of being that no longer serve you. In the context of transforming heartbreak into wisdom, the Death card is showing me that you are going through a profound metamorphosis. The person you were before this heartbreak, she is not coming back. And I know that might sound scary or sad, but actually, this is the most liberating thing I could tell you. You do not have to go back to being who you were. You do not have to reconstruct the version of yourself that could be hurt in that particular way. The Death card represents the absolute ending of a chapter. There is no going back. There is no resurrection of what was. This relationship, this dynamic, this way of loving, it is complete. And with that completion comes space for something entirely new to be born. But here's the thing about the Death card. You cannot rush through it. You cannot skip the grieving process. You cannot bypass the messiness of endings. Transformation requires that you fully let go. And letting go takes time. For Taurus especially, this is a challenging card because you are not someone who likes change. You like consistency, predictability, slow and steady growth. But the Death card is not slow and steady. It is absolute and final. It is the tower falling, the cocoon breaking open, the old skin being shed. It is uncomfortable, and sometimes it feels like you are losing yourself entirely. But what is actually happening is that you are losing the false self, the adapted self, the self that was shaped by fear and old wounds. And in that loss, your true self has room to emerge. The wisdom of the Death card is that endings are sacred. They deserve to be honored and grieved properly. You are allowed to mourn not just the person but the future you had imagined, the version of yourself you were in that relationship, the dreams and plans that are no longer possible. Letting yourself fully feel that grief is not wallowing or being dramatic, it is how you complete the cycle so that something new can begin. I am also seeing with the Death card that some of you might be releasing more than just the romantic relationship. You might be letting go of friendships that were connected to that person, or letting go of habits and routines that no longer fit, or even letting go of where you live or your job. The Death card often triggers a cascade of changes because once you start transforming on the inside, your external life has to shift to match. Trust this process even when it feels like everything is falling apart. What is actually happening is that everything is falling into place. You just cannot see the pattern yet. The transformation that Death offers is the most complete kind. It is not about fixing or improving the old you. It is about becoming someone entirely new, someone who has integrated the lessons of the heartbreak, who has alchemized the pain into strength and wisdom, someone who knows herself in a way she never did before. This new version of you will have different priorities, different boundaries, different ways of relating. She will be able to spot red flags that the old you missed. She will not tolerate things that the old you accepted. She will love from a place of wholeness rather than need. The sixth and final card is the Nine of Pentacles, and wow, this is such a beautiful card to end on because it represents exactly where this transformation is taking you. The Nine of Pentacles is about self-sufficiency, independence, prosperity, and enjoying the fruits of your labor. This is you on the other side of the heartbreak, having done the work, having transformed the pain, having become someone who is completely comfortable in her own company. The woman in the Nine of Pentacles is usually shown alone in a beautiful garden that she has cultivated herself. She is not waiting for someone to complete her or rescue her or validate her. She has built a life that fulfills her, that brings her joy, that reflects her values. This is the ultimate wisdom that comes from heartbreak, the recognition that your happiness and your wholeness were never dependent on another person in the first place. For Taurus, this card is particularly resonant because it is actually your card in many ways. It represents the highest expression of Taurus energy, which is about creating security and beauty and pleasure for yourself through your own efforts. The Nine of Pentacles is telling you that as you move through this transformation, you are going to develop a level of self-reliance and inner wealth that you may never have accessed before. You are going to discover that you are actually really good at being alone, that solitude is not loneliness but an opportunity to get to know yourself deeply. I am seeing that many of you are going to invest in yourselves in new ways after this heartbreak. Maybe you are going to focus on your career or education in a way you had not before. Maybe you are going to develop new skills or hobbies. Maybe you are going to improve your physical health and well-being. Maybe you are going to create more beauty in your living space or wardrobe. The Nine of Pentacles is about taking all that energy you were pouring into a relationship that was not reciprocal and redirecting it back to yourself. There is also a message here about financial independence and material security. The Nine of Pentacles suggests that as you heal, You might find that your relationship with money and resources also transforms. Maybe you realize you were too financially dependent on someone, or maybe you were too focused on material success at the expense of emotional fulfillment. The wisdom is about finding a healthy balance where you feel secure and abundant while also being open to connection and love. What I love about the Nine of Pentacles as your final card is that it is not showing you alone forever. It is showing you complete and whole on your own, which is actually the best possible foundation for healthy partnership in the future. When you are not looking for someone to fill a void or complete you, when you are already happy and fulfilled in your own life, then you can choose a partner from a place of desire rather than need. You can be discerning about who you let into your carefully cultivated garden. You can walk away from situations that do not align with your values because you know you will be okay on your own. The Nine of Pentacles is also telling you to really enjoy this period of your life. Do not rush into the next relationship. Do not treat your single time as just a waiting period until the next person comes along. This is actually a really precious time where you get to be completely yourself, where you get to make decisions based solely on what you want, where you get to discover parts of yourself that might have been hidden or suppressed in relationships. Savor this. Date yourself. Take yourself on adventures. Invest in your dreams. Build the life that makes you excited to wake up every morning. The transformation from heartbreak to wisdom is complete when you can look back at what happened and genuinely feel grateful for it, not because the pain was fun or necessary, but because it cracked you open in a way that allowed your true self to emerge. When you can see that the relationship ending was actually the beginning of your real life. When you can recognize that the person who hurt you actually gave you the greatest gift by freeing you to become who you were always meant to be. So, my beautiful Taurus friends, I hope this reading resonated with you and gave you some insight into the transformation that is available to you right now. The journey from heartbreak to wisdom is not linear. It is messy and complicated, and sometimes you will feel like you are taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But trust that you are moving in the right direction. Trust that every moment of grief and every flash of anger and every wave of longing is part of the alchemy that is turning your pain into power. You are not broken. You are breaking open. You are not ending. You are becoming. And the version of you that emerges from this chrysalis is going to be stronger, wiser, and more authentically herself than ever before. I am rooting for you.